We are just going to start our unit number 4. My topic is strategic implementation. Actually, we have started our unit number 1, 2, and 3 regarding the introduction part of how the business policies have been framed inside the organization. And once framing the policies, how it is going to be implemented inside the concern. And while implementing all your policies, it becomes a mandatory that as a top level management, we have to do it in a more strategic way. So while implementing in a more strategic way, what are all the things we have to consider? So each and every topic we have discussed under unit number 1, 2, and 3. That is, unit number 1 was regarding how the policies are being framed, and for overcoming all the policies, what are the various ways of strategies to be evaluated. So that was introduction part of unit number 1. Then we just saw the various strategic models or various strategic analysis inside of unit number 2. So the various models represents how the strategies are going to be implemented inside the organization. Then regarding unit number 3, how it is being evaluated, in the sense how the strategies are being formulated. So in regard of formulation, we just saw various kinds of modeling. Say, for example, our G9-cell matrix and regarding our BCG matrix. So that was the basic tool where the strategies are going to be formulated inside the organization by the top level people. Now, once the formulation has been done, it has to be implemented inside our organization. So this implementation part alone, we are just going to take for today's class, called as strategic implementation. And while strategic implementation is going to be evaluated, we are just going to evaluate under two different variations. One is your structural implementation and the next one is your behavioral implementation. So these are the three important contents for today's class, which is going to see on unit number 4. So the next slide shows you the stages of your strategic management paper. So this is the way where we have started our subject. Unit number 1 was regarding our introduction part of what do you mean by policy, what do you mean by strategy, and what are the backbones of who are all working for formulating our strategies. So that was regarding our unit number 1 introduction part. Then unit number 2 was regarding our various strategies, models, and various analysis part. So by having all the models, say for example, the base is your SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis represents the various strength of the organization, weakness, the threats and opportunities available inside the market. So that was the basic model where we have used up under unit number 2. Then unit number 3 comes your strategy formulation. So how all the strategies being evaluated for our organization, how it is going to be formulated. So the formulation part was regarding our BCG matrix and our 9-cell matrix, where the matrix tells you clearly how to approach various formulations. Now, once the formulation part has been over, the very next stage is your implementation. So implementation, as the name itself is very clear, we are just going to adapt it inside our organization. In the sense, each and every strategies, whatever being evaluated by the top level people, now it is going to be implemented inside our organization. That is, from your unit number 1, I have told you a simple concept called as the strategies will differ from organization to organization. That is, once the policies have been framed, it cannot be changed for a number of duration of years. Say for example, for minimum of 5 years of duration, or maybe 10 years of duration, or maybe 15 years, or maybe for 25 years. The policies once fixed, it cannot be changed. So once the policies have been framed, the very next stage is your strategies, to evaluate your strategies. Evaluation part represents how far it is going to be running for the coming years. So whether this type of strategies can be implemented, or else where we have to change our strategies. So what we will see in your unit number 5 called as strategy evaluation. So for today's class, we're just going to enter only the green box called as strategy implementation. Now let us begin a concept. What do you mean by strategic implementation? So strategy, as the name of it is very clear, it represents various kinds of alternatives for completing a particular objective, for overcoming a particular task. So there are various alternatives being available for the top level people. So maybe we are just going to evaluate each and every alternative deeply, and which is the best alternative. So that is going to be taken inside our organization. So that represents our strategic evaluation process. So once that has been over, the very next concept is your implementation. So how it is going to be implemented? It is nothing but implementation refers towards the execution of all the plans which is being prepared by the top level people. Now, what type of plans are going to be evaluated? So maybe say for example, I need to focus for near future. So long-term goals are going to be evaluated here. Not only the very short-term duration, not my plans or my strategies are not going to be withstand within the very shorter duration for maybe for 2 years or maybe for 5 years. Whatever strategies I am implementing, it has to be evaluated for the next coming duration of years to go. So maybe you would have been heard about father's business or maybe forefathers business. It represents what? Generation to generation, the same strategies are going to be evaluated. So execution part is being evaluated in the sense for maybe a longer duration of time. The strategy implementation should be stick on towards long-term targets. Now, so what is the second point? It converts these strategies into a kind of an action. So whatever I have evaluated or whatever I have in my hand called as strategies, each and every strategy is going to be taken up into our action inside the organization. Now the third point is strategy implementation is nothing but it is a kind of a technique through which the firm develops or utilizes or integrates all the structure, culture, resources, people, controlling systems, everything. So technique, as the name itself is very clear, it is a kind of a tool. Why? Because strategies plays a backbone for our industry. So once the strategies are going to be framed up, it has to be developed. It has to be equivalent enough towards firms' development, utilization, or integrating all various inputs. Say, for example, maybe our raw materials, or maybe our employees, maybe our suppliers, or maybe a customers. Any kind of stakeholders plays a very important role under the strategy implementation. Why? Because whatever we are implementing, each and every stakeholders are going to take up a very good initiative part inside the organization. And ultimately, why we are doing all these policies, framing the policies, and for that policies we are taking care of all these strategic implementation is nothing but I need to target my competitors. Ultimately, I'm going to work inside the market for competing with the same kind of industry people. So I should be the market leader inside the organization. If that is the case, I'm just going to compete with the organization people who are available inside the market. So that is, I mean, these are the three important points or the concept behind the strategic implementation. The number one is you need to execute all your plans inside the organization, and while implementing, it has to be taken a very good action inside the organization. And the very third point is I need to compete with my competitors. So these are the three important points inside the concept of strategic implementation. Now, the very next slide tells you about the prerequisites of strategy implementation. That is, once I have formulated a set of strategies inside my hand. So now what is the next move is I'm going to implement it inside the organization. So while implementing, what are the things comes into my mind, or what are the factors that is going to be taken care inside the organization? Now let us see one after the other. So prerequisite, your first point is institutionalization of strategy. Institutionalization is nothing but you need to work hand in hand. Just like that, somebody else has been implementing the strategy, somebody else is going to work behind your strategy. That is not the concept. Wherever I am implementing all my strategies as a top level people, or as a middle level people, or as a lower level people, I need to work hand in hand. So that is the concept of the first point called as institutionalization of my strategy. Then my second point is developing a proper organizational climate. So climate, as the name itself is very clear, climate represents what type of organization I am working out. My employees or my circle people have to work together with my organization. So that represents I need to provide a very good culture, or I need to give a very good climate for my employees. So that is Your second point called as developing a proper organizational climate towards your employees. Then my third prerequisite is formulation of operating plans. So formulation of operating plans represent whatever I'm having in my mind, I need to execute it or I need to formulate it towards the operating structure. In the sense, whatever the top level people are having inside their mind, it has to be executed in a proper format for the employees. Say for example, whatever things comes in my mind or whatever things I have it in my mind, all the execution part should be easier part for the employees to work. Just like that, whatever strategies I think it cannot be executed. So whatever things we are having in my mind as a top level people, we need to think or we need to focus our employee side. So that represents a third one called as, while formulating your strategies, you need to think in a way of operationalization inside the organization. It has to be evaluated. It has to be done in a proper movement. Then my next point is developing proper organizational structure. The structure plays a very backbone of the organization. So this is the important concept where we will going with the further PPTs runs behind this organizational structure too. Why? Because structure plays a very big bone for the organization. Without structure, we can't able to survive inside the organization. So we will see it in a further detailed content again in your further coming PPTs. Then my last point is periodic review of strategy. That is, once today 2020, this year, if I'm implementing a strategy, so this cannot be dealt in a same stretch run. We have to review it once in a year. Say for example, every 6 months or every year of time, I need to review all my strategies. Maybe my top level people will work it out on reviewing all these strategies. Maybe your CEOs, maybe your directors, or maybe your president. Any top level people should work hand in hand of reviewing your strategies for every 6 months or for every year. So while we are reviewing all these strategies, it represents what? We need to think twice and thrice how the people are working inside my organization. So this can be done only when we are reviewing it in periodical basis. Now, the first concept has been over, called as strategic implementation has been over. My next important focus is toward the structural implementation. The structural implementation is nothing but just now we have discussed about organizational structure. So that is this concept called as structural implementation is nothing but my arrangement of all my tasks and subtasks. It represents what? So whatever I have dealt inside the strategic implementation process, it has to be done in a more structuralized way. That is, I have to give a structure. I need to give who is the top level people, who is the middle level people, who is going to execute all my strategies, or who are all the people who is going to get benefit out of my strategy. So that particular concept here, we name it as structural implementation. So this is one part. Strategies are implementing one corner. Ultimately, my parallel is my structural implementation too. That is, I need to give a diagrammatic representation insisting who are the people who are working behind this strategic implementation. Say for example, I've given clearly a diagrammatic representation could be an organizational chart. That is, you would have been heard about organizational chart. It plays a very important part. Wherever we enter towards the organization, you would have find a very big chart insisting what is the structure or who are the top level people, how the top level people are running this particular organization. So that particular concept here we name it as a diagrammatic representation clearly tells you who are the administrative people. Now, why this organizational structure is being evolved? It represents what? It clearly tells you the flesh and blood of the organization structure. So, ultimately, my structural implementation is nothing but I need to give a clear diagrammatic picture. Alternatively, who is the authorityist person and what is the responsibility of that particular person. So, this particular equating your authority and responsibility relationship of different jobs represents your structural implementation. Now, your next slide gives you a clear picture stating there are two dimensions broadly. So one is your vertical structure and one is your horizontal structure. See, vertical structure is nothing but a narrow span of organization structure. Narrow in the sense, how many people the superior can able to undertake. That is your superior subordinate relationship. Again, your authority and responsibility deals here. That is how many people can able to work under a single person. So that represents a vertical called as narrow span of organization. Simultaneously, you can see horizontal. Horizontal in the sense, this is, other way around, we call it as a wider span. Wider span in the sense, one single people or one single superior is having a full control over the overall people who are working under maybe 5 or maybe or 6. So it increases your lower level people increases day by day. So that represents your horizontal way of structuring. So these are the backbone, or these are the two broad classification of your organization structure. So based on this vertical or horizontal only, we are just going to move in for your next topic called as dimensions. That is, your vertical dimension is characterized by only your specialization of your task, or maybe your based upon your chain of command. Chain of command represents how many number of subordinate can a superior can able to have a command. Maybe 2 or maybe 4. So that represents your chain of command. Then a formal reporting relationship. So there exists a superior subordinate relationship. As I told you earlier, this clearly gives you a picture of authority and responsibility relationship. So that represents your formal reporting relationships. Then grouping of individuals into the departments. So how many number of subordinates can be grouped up under a single superior? So that represents this particular point called as grouping of your individuals. Then upward and downward communication. That is, this is the normal way of communicating from top level towards the lower level, and the lower level people are communicating from the middle level people. So that represents your upward and downward communication. Then next comes your characteristics of horizontal dimensions. Horizontal represents sharing of tasks has been done equally, because there are n number of subordinates being present inside a single person. So your task has been shared among equally. Then sharing of information also is being done equally. That is, as you can see, there are more number of people under a single person. So here you can able to share your task. Here you can able to share your information. Then decentralization way of decision making. So this is an important point here being told here, by because centralization represents a single person having the full control over the authority. But decentralization represents I am giving my full powers, or I am giving my full authorities towards all the people who are working under me. So that represents the decentralization way of decision making. Then focusing only on learning. That is, I need to learn first as a superior. Then I need to show my subordinate how to learn for themselves. So that represents this particular point. So these are the two ways, dimensions, vertical dimension characteristics and horizontal way of characteristics. Now we enter towards the types of structures. How many types of structures have been there? There are n number of structures, but based upon our paper, or based upon my decision, or based upon my strategies, which is the best structure, I'm going to adapt it. So under that, your first structure is entrepreneurial structure. Entrepreneurial structure is nothing but the single person is ruling the whole organization. I don't have any XYZ person to rule me, or I don't have any other people to support me. So entrepreneur is a single person working behind the overall organization. You can see under this particular chart representing the red color gives you a single person called as the entrepreneur. So he is the elementary form of the structure, and the whole organization is being owned or managed by a single person, and he serves as a single business people, or a single product, or say for example, I can able to have my own markets. I can have the full authority to have the full control towards my own people, or my own targeted customers. So that represents serving the local markets. That is, I need to, I can't able to target for a very long way of market, or I need to, I need not have to worry about the huge market people, or I need to don't worry about the major players inside the market. I can able to serve any kind of local markets. So that represents this particular point called as entrepreneurial structure. The second structure is your functional structure. Functional, as the name itself is very clear, for an organization. When we say an organization is running successfully, it it involves various kinds of departments. Say, for example, your production department represents where production process being manufacturing of production is being done daily. Then sales department represent it. It works only of selling their products inside the market. Then warehousing, where you need to have the control over your goods inside the organization. Quality control is a very important department being functioning inside the organization, where I need to have the full control towards my defects inside the production process. Then customer service, that is, I need to have a full coordination among the market people, so that customer service also plays a very important factor. Human resource is being dealt only with the people who are working inside the organization, maybe employees. Why? Because I used to say always, employees are the backbone of the organization. Without employees, we can't able to survive inside the market, or we can't able to do anything differently inside the organization. So human resource department plays as the very important department inside the functional structure. Then comes your finance. Finance department also plays an equivalent part inside the organization. So these are the various functional departments which plays a very important factor for running a successful organization. So this is a second structure called as, you try to evaluate people, or you try to compete with kind of the people who work only specialist under sales department, who work only specialized under warehousing, or who work only specialized under quality control department, and so on. So that represents our second structure called as functional structure. Then comes your divisional structure. So divisional structure is nothing but, say for example, if I'm a single person producing n number of products, or n number of product lines being produced. That is, say for example, if you take Tata Group of Industries, where they have n number of product lines being produced between a single company. Say for example, Tata Steels we can able to see, or Tata Salt we can able to see. Tata groups have entered towards various kinds of production of their products, maybe under EW products till FMCG products, durable till non-durable products. They have involved in various kinds of production process. So what happens, divisional structure is represents, you try to create your own product line first. And once we are creating the product line separately, you have to provide various kinds of departmental heads for controlling various product lines. Say for example, inside our chart I have taken, board of directors is having the full control over the full product lines separately. That is, if I am the single person who is producing the product, and maybe my product is taking care of all the products which is being used up by the women targeted group of people. The soap is my product, hair products is my product, feed products, makeup products, fragrance products. So all these are being done separately. We can't able to produce all the products in a single machinery. We require various kinds of expertise of producing soap differently, hair products differently, feed products differently, makeup products differently, and fragrance product differently. But everything works under my own control. So there is a single authoritative person controlling or ruling the whole product line. So that is the concept behind this divisional structure. So divisional structure especially meant for having the marketing department separately for hair product, or running finance department separately for hair product, and so on. So you require n number of ruling parties or ruling people to run behind various kinds of product line inside our organization. You try to compete with each and every product line inside the market, but having the single authoritative person called as a single top management is ruling the whole overall product line inside the organization. So here we try to have a geographical area of coverage. That is, a geographical area of coverage represent maybe a southern part, or maybe a northern part, or maybe a western region, or maybe a eastern part. So various regions put together, we name it as geographical area. And what we are trying to convey here is, the geographical area doesn't cover only the various regions, they cover various types of customers. serving specialized under their own regions. The next comes your SBU structure. SBU structure represents strategic business unit structure. So here we are just going to take it up into a strategic move, or strategically we are just going to compete inside the market. We are least bothered about the production process. We are least bothered about the customer's mind or customer's needs and wants. Whatever things comes into my mind is strategic movement, or strategically I'm going to compete inside the market. Say for example, this is a time of a summer season where I'm going to target only the people who deserve or who use only the products which covers under the summer vacations or summer time. So that represents what strategically I'm going to move, or strategically I'm going to adapt a kind of an target where I can able to easily compete with my market people. Say for example, here I have various kinds of people who work under various kinds of targeted group, maybe division 1, division 2, division 3, division 4, division 5, division 6. So all these divisions represent various kinds of areas have been targeted under one single person called as Chief Executive Officer. So this CEO person is having the full control till division 1. It begins from division 1 and it ends up with division number 6. But what I'm going to try to say here is my strategic control is overall being evaluated under all the divisions, under all the groups. Maybe the groups will differ from person to person, from area to area. But what is my target is the overall divisions, the overall controlling should be done by a single person called as Chief Executive Officer, is ruling the overall people in a more strategic way. Yeah, next is your matrix structure. Matrix structure is nothing but in a larger targeted organization where the company is having more number of projects, more than one number of projects are running simultaneously. So what we can do is we require specialized people working together from various departments. That is, I might require for completing a particular single project, I might require 2 people from research department, 1 people from marketing department, 1 people from R&D department, or 1 people from finance department. So what I can do is I can't able to compete with all the people daily. So what I will do is I will create a matrix type of structure where whatever type of people I require for completing a particular single project, I will try to compete with all these people working together. Say for example, parallelly they have to work for their own departments too. That is, if 2 people are being recruited from R&D department to work under this matrix structure, what I will try to do is they have to work for this matrix structure also. Matrix structure in the sense, till the project is going to be completed, these setup of people will work silently, or silently in the sense, till the project gets over, these people will work together. And once the project gets over, they will get dispersed towards their own departments. And once a new project comes in, again these people will have the same structure called as matrix way of structuring. So where we can able to see more specialized people are working under a single project. So project work is also being targeted, and parent department is also being working simultaneously. So that is the meaning of this matrix organizational structure. So where we can see, or where we can see various expertise of knowledge or various expertise of people sharing their skills or sharing their knowledges for completing a particular single type of projects. So as on when the project comes hand in hand, the people also work simultaneously inside the organization. So that represents our matrix organization structure. Now we are just going to enter towards our structural consideration in strategic implementation. So number one was your strategic implementation. Then second one was your structural implementation. So here we're just going to wind up with the structural consideration. So number one is your activities. So structuring activities represent, you'd have been seen around the matrix or entrepreneurial structuring or whatever it is, or functional or whatever it is. So maybe based on all these structures, our activities have to be run simultaneously. So that is this particular first point. Then aligning functions towards the strategic objectives. So based on the objectives, all my strategic movements have to be aligned one after the other. Then finally comes your establishing authority. Ultimately, what is my target is I need to have the full power, or I need to have the full control or authority towards my people who are working inside the organization. So these are the special considerations to be adapted inside the strategic implementation of structuring. So till this particular PPT, we are completing the two important points called as strategic implementation concept has been over. For that, structural implementation has been over. When next PPT will tell you regarding behavioral implementation. So this is our last point inside unit number 4. So behavioral implementation is nothing but how the people behave inside the organization. So this we have to take into our consideration. That is, all people will not be in the same movement, or all employees will not have the same way of thinking process. So what I have to do is I need to think in an aspect of behavioral implementation aspect. I have to think based on various employees. I need to think one after the other which plays an important part for employee A, or which plays an important part for employee B. So based on these targets, I need to fix up my strategies. So that is your concept of behavioral implementation. It deals with those aspects of strategy implementation that have an impact on behavior of people in the organization. So what is the impact of the people? If I'm implementing a strategy for today's, so what is the impact of employees? So that I have to consider, because from the top level side, I can able to say that whatever I am investing, that is the best one. But from the ground level people, or from the employee side only, I can able to act upon. That is actually whatever strategies I am implementing, it is only the employees are going to work on it. So behavior of people plays a very important target here. So first one was your strategy implementation, second one was your structure, now third one is your behavioral. So behavioral represent, I need to think about my own people. Now, what is the key to organizational excellence? So when I say that I am running a very good organization, so what are all the things, or what are the aspects I'm going to think? One is my strategy is one particular form. So left hand side the circle, we can able to see strategies are implemented one side. Then whatever strategies are implemented, it has to be run behind some processing. So processing represents your culture, maybe your organization culture, because wherever I'm going to adapt my strategy, culture plays a very important part here. So that represents your processing. Then final box or final circle, we can able to see the behavior. So behavior represents your maybe your leadership, maybe your team building. How from the top level people, I need to think what is my behavior inside. What is the authority and demanding relationship between the top level and the lower level people. So all these three circles put together, only we can say organization is having a kind of excellence. So when I say excellence, what are the things comes into my mind? Because strategy is one side. See, whatever strategies the top level people are going on insisting, the processing part of people will never able to initiate it in their movement. That is culture plays, it has some kind of hurdles. So all the hurdles have to be overcome with the type of leadership. So this is the meaning of this particular excellence. So what I'm trying to convey here is, when I am having this kind of excellence part, I need to have a kind of framework. I need to have a support, a strong build-up support have to be given here, called as Mekin's 7S framework model is going to be evaluated here. So students just have into a mind that inside our paper, second unit was full of regarding models. Then third unit was regarding our analysis part. Then again under fourth unit, we have a framework called as Mekin's 7S framework model. So this particular model plays a backbone for the industry people for running this behavior or understanding the people. That is how far I can able to understand my employees with the help of a kind of a tool called as Meccans 7S framework. Meccans is a kind of a company which has been developing this particular 7S framework. So this model was been developed in the late 1970s by Tom Peter and Robert Waterman. That is, these two expertise people have developed this particular 7S framework modeling. So why this particular modeling was being evaluated? I need to understand my employees. I need to think how these people are being working. So for that only this particular model was being framed up. So what this Tom and Robert did, so they gave this particular, they framed this particular 7S modeling, and Meccans was the company which was being happening to create this particular modeling in a broader sense. So what are the situations wherever we can be able to use this 7S modeling? One is to facilitate organization change. If you think that you require a change inside your organization, you can able to adapt the 7S framework modeling. Then the second situation is to help in implementing new strategies. When new developments are being well versed inside the market, or new kind of technological advancement is going on daily, you can adapt the 7S modeling to implement new strategies inside your organization. Then third situation is to identify how each area may change in a future. If I want to forecast, if I need to think about my forecasting modeling between the people's mind or employees' mind, I can able to identify how much number of changes is going to be done in near future. So this is the third situation where I can able to adapt this 7S model framework. And the very last situation is to facilitate the merger of organization. That is, merging of organization are studied inside unit number 2 itself. That is, joint venturing, mergers have been dealt, how it has been adapted inside the organization. Let us say, for example, successfully I was a very good expertise person running an organization for 20 years or 25 years of duration. But suddenly, due to technological advancement or due to some lack inside my organization, I can't able to survive inside the market. But at least for surviving part, I can able to go for merging with some other competitor people, or I can go for joint venturing. So all these are not way called as I'm not capable person to live inside the market. It is only I'm going to facilitate the future coming people to work inside the organization. So these are the ways in where you can able to use the 7S Meccans 7S modeling. So now we can able to see what is the framework. So this is the 7S framework. This is a very important repeatedly asked university exam question where the students have to be more focusing towards this particular Meccans 7S framework model. You can see there are 7 yes. The first yes is your structure, then second yes is your system, then third is your style, your staff, your skill, your strategy, and your shared values. So these are the 7 yes being dealt inside this particular modeling, and you can able to see a dotted line which tells you clearly there is a differentiation between yes, that is your hard yes we have and soft yes we have. That is, all top yes stands under hard, and all the below yes stands as soft. So what is the meaning of this hard and soft? So hard represent all the yes, your strategy, your structure, and your system. So till now class in unit number 4 we have seen only these 3 concepts called as strategy, structure, and your systematic adaptation inside your organization. So all the 3 above said yes are being framed up by the top level people. That is why it has been named as hard, because it is very hard to change. Whatever top level people are trying to compete inside the market, it is as a middle level people or as a lower level employee, we can't able to change it very often. So that is why it has been named as hard yes. And all the below yes, say for example, your skill, your staff, your style, and your shared values plays a moderate value between the hard yes and your soft yes. And all these yes represents your employees are the backbone of the organization. Your skill, your staff, your style will differ from people to people, from organization to organization. So that is the differentiation between the hard yes and your soft yes. So now let us see one after the other. Under your hard yes, your first yes stands for your strategy. So as I told you earlier, Your strategy plays as a backbone for the organization. It is only with the help of this first years called a strategy, we people are running inside the organization. So whatever the top level people are framing out as an strategy, with the help of the strategy only we can able to analyze how far we are competing with your competitors inside the marketplace. That is, as I told you earlier, today's market is highly competitive. We can't, if we want to withstand inside the market, what type of strategy you are adapting, that will independently, differently, you have to adapt it inside the market. So yes stands for your strategy. Your first yes stands for your strategy, which is going to be implemented from the top level people. Then whatever strategy I am adapting, my next yes goes in for your structuring. So whatever strategies I am adapting into the organization, it has to be evaluated a kind of a structure-based concept. As we have just seen in your earlier slides would have been seen various kinds of structuring, maybe your entrepreneurial structure, or maybe your functional structure, or maybe your matrix structure. So any kind of structure plays an important backbone for your industry. So that represents is as your second yes called as structuring. Even here, the structure is being adapted from the top level people. Here also, from the employee side, there is no kind of feedback being taken up. So your second yes is also being decided from the top level people. Now comes your third yes called as system. So system represents how far I am going to work inside the organization. So what is the relationship between the superior subordinate relationship? What is the authority and delegation of your powers, your duties and responsibilities? So all that represents your systematic adaptation inside the organization. So all the yes represents all the above said yes, maybe your strategy or maybe your structuring or maybe your systematic procedures being adapted. All the yes plays an important part inside your from your top level people of your organization. So that is why it has been named as hard yes. Now comes your soft yes. Now let us enter towards your next three set of yes called as skills. What do you mean by skill? Skill represents, it differs from person to person. It differs from employee to employee. You can't able to compete, or you can't able to compare with one type of skill with your other employees. Maybe one employee will be good enough for the communication skill. Maybe one employee may be very good having a technical skill. So we can't able to compare with the various skills being adapted inside the organization. So skill always differs from people to people or from employees to employees. Then next yes comes your staffing. So staff also differs from one organization towards the other organization. Here also we can't able to compare with one people towards the other people. One set of staffing will differ from other set of staffing. Say for example, as we have seen one concept called as geographical way of structuring. Geographical way of structuring represent what? That is, in a northern part, your southern part, your western part, your eastern part, your number of people will differ. Your structure will remain the same, but your staff will differ from one particular region towards the other region. So that is the second is called as staffing. Then last yes, then your comes your next yes called as style. Your style also differs from people to people. So this cannot be shared, or this cannot be dealt with one employee towards the other employee. One employee will have the same skill, same set of skill, same set of style in doing a particular work. The other employee will differ from other kind of styling procedures in completing a particular task involving inside the organization. So your skill will differ, your staffing will differ, your styling processing will differ. So all the yes comes under your soft yes. So soft yes, as I told you earlier, all these plays an important part from the employee's side. From employee's part, all these yes are being shared. Now what happens? Your last yes will run behind all the yes. All the 6 yes are being under outer part of it, and inside part you can see only one yes called as shared value. The shared value represent as a moderate between the hard yes and your soft yes. So what is the meaning of it? Shared values represent you need to share. So all the top level people have to share their values with your lower level people. and all the lower level people called as the employees have to share their values. They have to share their views and ideas to the top level people. So that is this particular yes called as shared values comes as in moderate yes between the hard yes and between the soft yes. So this is the full content of 7 years framework modeling. So why this McKinsey company has framed all these yes coming together, what is the meaning of it? It represents what there should be an equal coordination between the top level people and between your lower level people. So where we can able to the strategy, the structuring, the systematic procedure of completing a particular task will be formulated from the top level people or from the top level management will differentiate your strategies, they will differentiate your structuring of employees, they will have their own way of completing a particular kind of systematic procedures being adapted inside the organization. So it differs from the top level people. But as in low level people or as in the employee side, I have to give my own views or my own ideas or my own skill or my own style have to be taken care of, adapting all the strategies inside the organization equally. So equal proportion have to be given. So this structuring represents McKinsey 7S framework. So this particular modeling is a well-versed model being adapted inside the organization. So there ends your behavioral implementation. So this particular framework will tell you in detail what is the behavior of each and every individual employees working inside the organization. So till this we are completing the full content or full unit of unit number 4, maybe your strategic implementation, maybe your structural implementation, or maybe a behavioral implementation. The very last concept is a strategic controlling process. The strategic controlling process is nothing but I need to have the full control towards my organization. That is, I need to have the full control towards my strategy, whatever being adapted inside the organization. So till this class would have been seen how strategies are implemented inside the organization. So implementation also requires a small number of duration of time period, because whatever top level people are insisting, the low level people have to incorporate all these strategies inside them, and they have to work on behalf of the top level people. So while working on behalf of the top level people, the top level people should also have the full control towards the strategy. That is, as we have seen one particular point inside our prerequisites of strategic implementation itself, the very last point called as periodic review of strategies. So what do you mean by periodic review? So reviewing process nothing but having the full control towards the strategic implementation. So whatever strategies I have involved or whatever strategies I have adapted inside the organization, I have to have the full control towards my power. That is, in the sense, this is a very small definition will gives you the full concept of it. Strategic control involves the monitoring and evaluation of your plans, activities, and results with a view towards future action. That is, my future is always a question mark. That is, I have to always forecast what is going to happen in near future, maybe in the same industry line, what is going to happen for the next 5 years or for the next 10 years. That is my future target. But what I'm going to do is, all my controlling processing represent all my monitoring of my strategies being done now itself. So under controlling is the very last stage inside our implementation. Once implementation is done, I've adapted everything. All my employees have been ready to target all these strategies being adapted from the top level people. So what I'm going to do is, I need to have the full control over it. Whatever plans I have executed, whatever activities being done for the mere past 1 year or for the past 2 years, how the activities have been targeted, what is the end result, whether we just have a positive end result or whether we have a negative end result. If it is a positive, then we can able to run as such. If it is a negative, then again we have to pause it. We have to pause with all your strategies. You have to think twice and thrice, what is the issue or where is the problem, why it is not being done in a righter sense. So that is the concept of your strategic control processing. Now what happens? There are various components being adapted inside the strategic controlling process. So what are they? We have only 2 questions to be answered. Has a strategy been implemented as planned? That is, what was my plan, and based on my plan, whether my strategies are being implemented. Within 2020, I need to target all these strategies. Whether really I have adapted all these strategies between 20 to 20. So what is what? Has my strategies been implemented as I have planned? So this is the question where the top level people have to answer it. Then the second question is, based on the observed result, does the strategy needs to be changed or adjusted? That is, strategies have been implemented by the top level people and it is being run by the middle level people and by low level people. But what is the end result? The end result is going to be observed from the top level people. And once observing the result, I need to have only two questions in my mind: whether I need to change my strategy or whether I need to adjust my strategy. So that is the two important question behind this particular strategic controlling processing. So these are the highlight components of a strategic controlling process. Then your very last slide is your steps in controlling processing. So there are 6 steps in your controlling process. So what are they? Let us see one after the other. Determine what to be controlled. That is just like that, whatever I have adapted or whatever I have implemented inside the organization, all strategies cannot be controlled. It is only very few strategies requires controlling process. So based on that, what type of determination I have to determine it beforehand itself. Say for example, if mine is a manufacturing organization, if I'm manufacturing for the past 10 years of production process, I need to have a full control towards my quality checkup then and there. So because quality plays a very important factor in the market, wherever the quality is being given more higher way, the people, the customers are ready to move from one product towards the other product. So I need to determine what to be controlled, where to be controlled for establishing the best qualityest product inside the market. So that is one particular point. Then your second step is set your own standards. That is, standards represent what? It's a kind of a target. It is again a kind of objectives being framed up by the top level people. So you need to standardize your own standards, or from the top level people, I need to set my own standards for my employees. Because employees doesn't know where we are standing, where we have to work, where we have to focus more in depth. So all these standards are to be given from the top level people. So once these standards have been set from the top level people, your next important point is you need to measure your performance. See, all these have been done only with the help of HR type of peopling. So why these performance are going to be measured? Because there are only two things. One is actuals and one is your standards. The standards represent which has been fixed from the top level people. Whatever standards I am fixing, it is going to be measured with the actual. So that is a comparative study between your strategies being adapted from past 5 years and what is the today's market. So that comparative study have to be done with the help of your employees. So measuring your performance to be done, and it has to be compared from years together. That is maybe a very good analysis where we can able to say here one example is trend analysis. So trend analysis represents what is going to be happening for the past duration of past 5 years of data. So even that we can able to compare it with your actuals. Whether we are focusing a lot with the people, whether we are satisfying the customers' needs and wants on a regular basis. So that represents your measuring your performance with your comparing of your performance. Then your next point is you try to analyze your deviation. That is, from the organization point of view, I need to analyze where my deviation lacks or where my deviation stands. That is, company, that is the organization would have been set a kind of tools and techniques. So with the help of tools and techniques, the people called as employees would have been working upon it. And now I'm going to target what is my end result. If it is, again, if it is a positive end result, then no issues. We can able to determine with the same kind of strategies being implemented inside the organization, and we can able to survive. If, say for example, if there is a huge number of deviation, or if there is a huge number of negative end result is being provided in your reporting. So now what we have to do is we need to analyze where is the problem. It is from the top level people, or it is from your stakeholder side, or whether it is from your employer side, or from your raw material side. So where your deviation stands, so that we have to do an analysis work. So once you are analyzing your work, your corrective actions is going to be taken up based on it. So that represents your deciding which is the best part of it. So these are the 6 important steps for controlling, strategic controlling process. The strategic controlling process, in short, let me wind up. It represents whatever strategies I'm implemented inside the organization, it has to be controlled. So controlling can be done only with the help of top level people, and maybe for every 6 months of duration of timing, or maybe for every year of duration of timing, I need to check, I need to control what is the deviation, I have done it, and based on the deviations, I need to take up my corrective actions. If the corrective actions is from the employee's side, I need to change or I need to rectify my employees, or if the corrective action is from the top level people, then I need to rectify based on the top level people, or if the corrective action is from the strategies movement or from the deciding of the strategies itself, again I need to reframe all my strategies, again I need to fulfill what is my policies from the beginning. I have to work it upon it. So these are the 6 important steps in strategic controlling processing. So now let us wind up. So from the beginning, you can able to understand the concept in detail. I think the strategic implementation requires only 3 different structures. One is your implementation of your strategies. Then second one is your implementation of your structuring. Then third is your implementation of your behavioral structure. So behavioral implementation is nothing but with the help of Meckens 7S framework modeling, we can able to easily analyze what type of employees are working inside your organization. Then finally comes your 6 steps to controlling your strategies. So strategies is also a kind of a process where we have to have, then and that a controlling hurdles have to be given, and that controlling process will give you the full booster